Now 2020, it's a year where a lot of things have happened, a lot of terrible and awful things, and people are beginning to say, well not beginning, they pretty much said it from the beginning, but that 2020 is the worst year ever. And you know, I'd probably agree with this statement if you're one of the many unfortunate people that have had to try and run Cyberpunk on a base edition PS4. Social reference. I am definitely not 84 years old. But also, I think that 2020, for some people in particular, 3 people in particular, in fact, has particularly been terrible. One of these people being me, because I put on a lot of weight during lockdown and it's just not been good. But the other 2 are Shane Dawson and Jeremiah Star. I recently uploaded a video basically speaking about how Shane Dawson is gradually coming back to YouTube through the back door of his boyfriend's channel, his channel and his podcast and Instagram stories and all that, and I just said, you know, it's pretty sneaky, and I also believe that Jeffree Star is once again pretty much manipulating everyone. I mean, that one wasn't really a shock. That's been going on for around 50 years at this point. But in today's video, we are going to be doing the sequel, the part 2, the Disney Plus series that came out yesterday at the investors meeting, which was very good, by the way. Today, we're going to be taking a look at this old chap.
My other hand has a cat in it.
Now, obviously, in the last 10 years since 2009, where Shane Dawson was exposed for saying a lot of terrible things that I won't show in this video because it's probably going to get taken off the platform if I do. But, you know, in the last 5 years, Shane has been pretty much rebuilding his brand, building himself up to be this very nice and caring person that makes these big, long documentaries where he changes problematic people. In this, what I would dub as a Shane Dawson restoration plan 1.0, because he's now doing 2.0, I would say that Shane has tried to put it into his audience's mind that he is an empath.
Why do I want to get so deep with people and talk to people and like try to help them? So I've learned I'm an empath, right? I want to help them and all of that.
Because you're empathic.
So an empath, I've heard that before.
The term empath comes from empathy, and if you didn't realise that, please get off my channel and never come back, but if you did, please subscribe. An empath is the ability to understand the experiences and feelings of people outside of your own perspective. You actually sense and feel emotions as if they're part of your own experience. In other words, someone else's pain and happiness becomes your pain and happiness. I mean, I would love to be empathetic for Jeff Bezos. I wish I could feel the billions of dollars of taking advantage. I wish I could feel that. Sadly, I can't. So I guess I'm not an empath.
Shit! Oh, of course! Is that another ad? Another ad. I'm losing my mind.
But after a lot of research and clips that have popped up here and there, I do feel like this claim Shane has made about him being an empath to be bullshit. Basically, I think this whole thing is like this manipulative process where he's tried to convince his audience that he's now no longer who he was in 2009, 2010, and he's now this caring, empathetic person, which I find funny because even this year, he was rolling his eyes at somebody saying they're a victim of abuse.
As a victim of abuse myself.
Oh my god.
Now, I'm not a big fan of Tiny Westbrook, but rolling your eyes at someone that said they were abused? That doesn't seem very empathetic. And also, if Shane Dawson was really an empath, I feel like he would struggle to be friends with somebody like Jeffree Star, because Jeffree Star is horrible and has ruined a lot of people's lives, well at least attempted to. I mean, last year alone, these two basically banded together in order to, you know, take down James Charles. For me personally, his decisions and his actions in the last few years don't really seem to be this empathetic guy that he likes to portray, this empath. Not only does he say he has empathetic feelings to people, he describes himself as an empath, somebody who I guess significantly has more empathetic feelings than the average person. Which obviously is complete and utter bollocks, and it's just him basically trying to convey to his audience in a manipulative way that he is no longer this problematic person, which I think we all know is not true. And if you don't believe me, well, I recently found some clips in the production of this masterpiece of where Shane doesn't seem to be, well, an empath.
The script is not that raunchy. Somebody out there is a rat and they're going around saying this is the raunchiest movie ever made and it's pissing me the
off. And he says, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I've had clients that have gone online, watched Shane's stuff, and said, I don't want to be a part of that.
When I was an actor, I was auditioning for everything.
Now, before you say anything, he's not wrong. World-renowned actor Shane Dawson, known for starring in cult classics such as How Shanae Stole Christmas and The High Fructose Adventures of Annoying Orange. I mean, I'm going to show my kids these movies, man. I mean, how will my kid grow up in a world without seeing How Shanae Stole Christmas? I don't want them to grow up in that world because Shane is a world-renowned actor.
I don't quite understand the logic of being picky when you have a job.
Ah, yes. This is the finest example of empathy.
When you have no job.
Well, no, but that's the problem. They do have jobs. And one woman in particular.
See, the worst thing is you know, I know it's real, but that performance where Shane's trying to be this angry big guy, it's more entertaining than the actual movie itself. So Not Cool is an $800,000 ego project from Shane Dawson, and I would advise never watch this film. It came out in 2014 where Shane would have been 26 years old at the time, and it's basically him making a film where everybody loves him, and he's this cool, hunky, sexy guy that everyone wants to be friends with. Yes, that's the Shane Dawson I know. This hunk of a man. And some footage came out recently, as I said, of the production in a video titled "This Clip is Shane Dawson Being a Jerk During the Production of His Movie Not Cool." And some people may say, well, you're bringing up old things, and that's true, I am. This is from 2014, but there's this weird kind of belief we have nowadays of where manners didn't exist before social media and Twitter and Instagram, and I would say that is, in semantics, bullshit. I think at 26 years old, you should be a nice, caring person. Your brain's developed, you're a mature adult. I don't think you can, just because you've got a lot of money, you can treat people like this.
I just want to say it too many times.
Well, but she also said you Facebook stalked me.
I know, so we can use it, but say if the opening montage doesn't have Facebook and it's like generic, whatever.
Do you not understand what I'm saying?
I
She
do.
says Facebook
No, I do.
stalked
It's
me.
okay. It's okay.
Then why are you saying it's not okay if
Because
you say
she's saying it
twice?
so many times that
So we
it's
can
like...
only say it once?
So
then we either can say it or we can't.
No, that's not...
Do you understand what she's saying?
It's...
No, I don't either.
Just,
Okay.
it just...
I mean, it is just rude. In fairness, I'm not seeing this and thinking, wow, this is disgusting behaviour, or how dare you do this, Shane Dawson. My argument is basically Shane has claimed that he is an empath. He's been making these documentaries since, I don't know, around 2017, of where he's trying to be this empathetic, wonderful human being. And my argument is that clip is like 3 years before when he started making these documentaries, and I just have to say, I don't think that somebody who is this caring, wonderful empath can develop those techniques of empathy within 3 years. I feel like it's a lifelong thing, if not a thing you're born with, to be an empath.
And one woman in particular who's a professor who's up for tenure.
Well, then why am I seeing professors? Where are the actors?
It's a smaller, more limited talent pool than out of New York or LA.
Can't find actors. If we can't find crew, then how are we going to fix this to make Pittsburgh look great? Because Zach Quinto ain't doing anything.
It's been mentioned...
Now, you may be wondering to yourself where these clips actually came from. Well, basically, a documentary series was created during the production of Not Cool, centered around Shane Dawson and his directional journey. In reality, it just kind of feels like a US Office skit, like the camera swerve, the stare at the camera. I feel like I'm watching the production of Agent Michael Scarn.
Or this man.
Yeah, Animal Protective Services are coming for me.
Now, as much as this clip is basically 4 minutes of Shane Dawson being a bellend, there are some also very weird things I noticed. That basically some characters in Not Cool have this thing of where they are basically obsessed with consuming their own stuff that comes out of your buttocks. And Shane, for some reason, basically demanded this remained in the movie, despite clearly everyone was very uncomfortable with it.
It's been mentioned many, many times. Is a problem for people. So if we just like lose that, I'm just saying.
I'm not taking anything out of the movie to please a bunch of out-of-work actors in Pittsburgh who should be lucky to get an audition for a feature film.
Alright, calm down, Christopher Nolan. Jesus Christ.
No director has ever taken anything out of a movie to get somebody to audition.
Shane?
I'm angry that we're finding out about this 2 days before we start filming the movie.
Number one, this doesn't sound very empathetic at all. And number two, I feel like what Shane just said is absolute bollocks. There has been plenty of times in Hollywood where directors have taken things out to make their actors feel more uncomfortable, because directors need their actors to feel good so they can actually perform. I mean, recently on the set of The Mandalorian, it was reported that Pedro Pascal had a lot of issues during the recording of season 2, and the director and the creator of the show, Jon Favreau, has appeared to have resolved the issue because nothing has been spoken on it since. And now my question to you, 2014 Shane Dawson, is do you think Jon Favreau went up to Pedro Pascal and said,
"Hey Pedro, you need to buck up your ideas, Sonny Jim, because if you don't, you're going to be like all the other out-of-work bums out there."
And yes, that is what Jon Favreau sounds like. Don't question me. I don't think that would have been the case, because I feel like as a director, you have to be, what's the word? Empathetic. I think you need to be empathetic towards your actors to understand that they are not comfortable with some of the things that they are performing. And things like eating your own excrement, or however you pronounce it, I wouldn't be comfortable with that either. And there is also the boding question of why was Shane Dawson so obsessed with having somebody eat their own... You know, it's a bit weird, and also I feel like it led to the destruction of this movie. Shane basically ignored all of his superiors there, the people that actually know how to make films, and it resulted in a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. Still not as bad as Rise of Skywalker though. Am I right, boys? Another pop culture reference.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Excrement obsessed with creepy characters played more broadly than in a silent comedy, the appropriately titled Not Cool oozes with vulgarity for its own sake before turning to rom-com cliche sentimentality. It's true, for some reason this film is absolutely obsessed with doing a lot of vulgar things, but then it just randomly divulges into the most cliche rom-com love film where Shane Dawson gets the girl, man. He gets the girl. Yeah. This time it's not a cat.
Cheeto, kiss daddy. Kiss daddy.
This film is an $800,000 ego boost, and I am going to play more clips from the production of it of where Shane Dawson appears to storm out in anger, but I do just quickly want to say, hey, it's me, I'm Inabber, welcome to the channel. I'm trying to hit 700,000 subs by the end of the year. We won't hit it, but you could, possibly help us get there. I know it's a thing that's said a lot, but apparently 53% of you aren't subbed, and that is actually quite ridiculous. I thought YouTubers were lying, but they're actually not. It's right there, and I would love it if you subscribe, because, join my empire. It's a lovely place. It's a little bit strict, but we can do all that, and we will eventually rebel against Jimmy Kimmel once and for all when we get our own Inabber late night television show. But yeah, Jimmy Kimmel's addiction to being extremely unfunny aside, let's move on to what Shane Dawson does best. Even back in 2014, Shane was, like he does in 2020, running away from valid criticism.
I don't know. I'm gonna go.
Shane, stop it. You can't go. We have too much to do.
I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna do this in my hotel.
Cool got a lot of really negative reviews.
Shane's movie got eviscerated in the critical landscape. I mean, absolutely destroyed.
One review said that if you enjoy my movie, you might... Sociopath.
That was in the Los Angeles Times.
For me, reviews don't really mean whether a movie is good. To have 5 middle-aged white dudes judge your movie, especially a teen comedy, not really the tell-all.
Ah, yes, the speaker for all people of colour in the world, Shane Dawson, the hero to save us from the vulgarity and the evil of modern society. Shane Dawson is here with Not Cool, an amazing film with POC representation of where 2 white people fall in love. I mean, no wonder the evil white people reviewed this as a terrible movie. I mean, Shane Dawson and Jeremiah LeLay, POC representation right there, boys. Now on a real, maybe if this film tackled real social issues, I could understand this comment, maybe I could, but, Not Cool has this weird trend of where basically the only main POC character is treated, well, terribly.
No, you stupid I'm Ecuadorian bitch! Ethyl's that new hybrid drug every—
As a white person that denies he's middle-aged, Shane Dawson, I can see that, that is weird. I mean, I get the whole point is it's meant to be terrible, but, it's terrible on a script level, it's terrible on a comedy level, it's just bad shock humor, really.
To have 5 middle-aged white dudes judge your movie.
Shane, at the ripe age of 23, I do like to convince myself that I'm not middle-aged, so hopefully just the half part of it of being white, we can look past that. Hopefully. But also, coming back to this whole thing of Shane saying he's an empath to everybody, I don't think an actual real empath would use the struggles of people of colour to his advantage so he can deflect away from criticism. Because let's be real, people do want representation in Hollywood and in movies, and that's great. But Shane Dawson using that to deflect away from real criticism of his awful movie, that doesn't seem very empathetic.
So I've learned I'm an empath, right?
As a victim of abuse myself,
Oh my god.
Is a problem for people. So if we just like lose that, I'm just saying.
I'm not taking anything out of the movie to please a bunch of out-of-work actors in Pittsburgh who should be lucky to get an audition for a feature film. To have 5 middle-aged white dudes judge your movie.
So let me get this right for a second. Empath Shane Dawson can easily roll his eyes at somebody saying they're a victim of abuse. Empath Shane Dawson can hear that his co-workers are uncomfortable, but just completely ignore it because he wants his movie done in his way, no matter how uncomfortable people are. And Empath Shane Dawson can use the struggle of people of colour to deflect away from his own criticism. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that you guys might actually get together again.
It's fine that you're saying Facebook. I just want to say it too many times.
Well, but she also said you Facebook stalks me.
I know. So we can use it, but say if the opening montage doesn't have Facebook and it's like generic, whatever.
Do you not understand what I'm saying?
I
She
do.
says Facebook
No, I do.
stalk
It's
me.
okay. It's okay.
Then why are you saying it's not okay if
Because
you say
she's saying it
twice?
so many times that
So we
it's
can
like.
only say it once?
So
then we either can say it or we can't.
No, that's not-
Do you understand what she's saying?
It's
No, I don't either.
just
Okay.
just the
Let's
second
get to,
one, the
let's
line.
get to acting notes and not like word notes.
This is a 26-year-old man. I don't want people coming in my comment section and saying, hey, this was 6 years ago. Okay, that's great. But the thing is, in 2014, my dad was bald. In 2020, my dad is still bald, even more balder. In fact, he's really bald. The thing what I'm trying to say here is that in 2014 and in 2020, Shane Dawson has pretty much proven that he isn't the best of blokes. And obviously, I'm not just talking about these documentary clips from 2014. There is also a lot of content during that time period from Shane Dawson that is, questionable. In fact, I really don't believe much has actually changed with Shane Dawson in the last 6 years because, in 2014, he wasn't exactly good with criticism. In 2017, with the whole Bobby Bands thing, he wasn't good with criticism to the point of creating an entire series based on a guy who simply made a random commentary video on him. He was that insecure that he brought this guy to his house and then made a video of him and bought it. It's very weird in hindsight. It's very weird indeed. And I don't think this guy is good with criticism.
Did you buy that they could have been in a relationship before?
Sorry to bother you. You're gonna come back in to talk, right? I think you should. You don't want to hear what people say?
No, I don't want to hear like specifics.
She's such a cartoon. I'm never gonna buy any version that he cares that she's gone.
So really, what do you think's gonna happen if you go in and listen?
I don't need to. I don't need to hear the pick party stuff.
Right.
All that's fine. But
Right.
to actually hear it, like, I don't need to.
You've got to think about this for a second. I believe this movie is a self-funded movie, so he has spent $800,000 and just let this movie die and burn and be ripped apart by the critics. I mean, who would do? I don't understand why he was so obsessed with having people, go numb on some things and just do. I don't get it. I really don't get what he was trying to do here. And I think I can still ask that question in 2020 with Shane Dawson. As I've basically said before, I feel like Not Cool is basically this $800,000 project of where Shane Dawson is trying to basically present the ideal version of himself to himself. He wants to be this hot, cool, wonderful guy who gets a load of women and is loved by everyone and is the most popular guy in his school. But in the school of YouTube, I'm not sure if Shane Dawson is the most popular guy anymore.
I think if we do a cut, just take that scene out. I honestly don't even think you're gonna miss it.
We can try.
We can try
I
it.
don't want to do that right now.
Why can't we do it right now? Cut.
That's why you're here for a couple days, and I just felt like after we watched it, I'd rather like be excited and talk about the movie, like just jumping into it being like, this is the problem.
No,
It's like,
but
well,
this is, can't not say anything. I'm not gonna sit here and just tell you like, it's done, it's ready to go. So
we've
really,
been working on
you're
and
only,
it's awesome. I think it's really good.
I'm not only covering this because of the whole empathy thing, I do also just find these clips quite fascinating because it really does seem that Shane has kind of convinced himself that this film that he's created here is this wonderful masterpiece on the level of Christopher Nolan's Inception and The Dark Knight, on the level of Twilight. I don't know what he's trying to get. This film, Shane, it's not, you literally have written characters that eat their own poo. Shane, it's not going to be good. I really don't get how in 2014 Shane just kind of sat in a boardroom with a bunch of people saying, Shane, you can't do this, Shane. Shane, this isn't going to go what you are going to your $800,000 and not get it back. And they weren't wrong, because this film crashed harder in his career this year. I mean, just look at these people, man. They look so confused. I feel like they genuinely don't know who this guy is, and they're thinking, I've gone from actual filmmakers to a guy that created Shanae. But overall, I do find this whole production of the movie very fascinating. I don't think anybody can become an empath in 3 to 4 years, and it's clear in 2014, he couldn't take criticism, he couldn't listen to people, he wasn't, you know, an empath, and that's absolutely fine. I don't actually care if somebody was rude in 2014. My whole point is I feel like he's borderline manipulated his audience into believing he is this wonderful, caring person to basically brush aside his dodgy history. But even now, his history of doing pretty awful things has come up in 2020, and I don't think the guy's recovering from it. It feels like Shane's weird facade has fallen, and yeah, I am just very disappointed. And with this crazy decline of Shane Dawson, I was genuinely interested in finding out what, you know, his actual fans think about it, because as much of a lot of people, including myself, have kind of jumped off the Shane Dawson bandwagon, there are bound to still people be there, right? Right? There's got to be somebody still on the Shane Dawson boat, which is basically underwater, like that thing where the boat sunk. So what I did is I went to the beacon of all information on this planet Earth, and that is, of course, Reddit. I went to the Shane Dawson Reddit to see what the fans who were remaining on the subreddit had to say, and even there, it was his own fans basically calling out Shane in discussions of Shane trying to redeem himself. I can't blindly follow somebody who manipulated me and the audience into believing he'd somehow changed when he hasn't. He still believes this is just all stupid drama, and he is not taking this seriously because he clearly doesn't care. And you know, I don't actually believe this statement is that wrong. I feel like a lot of us were manipulated into believing he is this empath. He was convinced by Caddy Morton that he's an empath, and it's amazing to see, but also it's clear that they don't really believe that they're much in the wrong in the last few years.
Really easy to forget when you're being attacked on such a public scale by so many people that there's also a huge amount of people who love you.
Yes, and for some reason you forget.
It's so easy because they're not as loud because they get shut down or whatever. But
it's scarier to defend as well.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, as I said in my last video, I am fascinated by that statement because I would really like to know what they think that their defense should be. What should the Shane Dawson stans say when they're trying to defend the guy? Oh, you know, James Charles, I don't know, he tried to ruin a 21-year-old's life, but it's not all that bad. Look, as I've said before, I've barely spoken about Shane up until this month, and there is so many things I could say. Because to be honest, this year alone, my disappointment levels have just sunk to a new low, and now I'm just basically airing all of my frustrations in the last year with Shane, and I'd say with Jeffree, but no, I've never liked this guy. In fact, it kind of was the Jeffree Star documentary that did make me think, oh, maybe Shane isn't the best of people if he's hanging out with Jeffree Star. I don't usually use the whole guilt by association thing, but if you're friends with Jeffree Star, you've probably got something to hide, and you're probably not a very good person. I then went onto Shane's Twitter and tried to see if any of his fan base still exists, to see if the wonderful Shane Dawson stan community still existed. And thankfully, I don't think it does. In fact, all I got brought to was this old tweet of where Shane said, I deleted everything. I'm done. For those who want me to address it, I did. I'm sure you can find it reposted somewhere, but I don't want this energy in my life or on my timeline. I'm too sensitive for this shit, and I'm done.
The next day.
Taking accountability. For somebody who in the last few years has convinced a lot of people on the internet that he is this empath, or somebody that wants to just have these difficult conversations and discuss things which a lot of people wouldn't discuss and would shy away from, I find it hilarious that he is basically immediately shutting down any form of criticism of him because he is too sensitive for this shit. I mean, what can I say? It's obvious the whole empath thing, in my opinion, was just a complete and utter lie, and I get comments to this day saying, oh, you snaked Shane. Bro, we're not in a relationship. I'm not in a relationship with Shane Dawson, and I feel like I've spoken to the guy on the phone like one time, and that was for a video. I'm not in a relationship with the guy. I can change my opinions, and after the James Charles stuff, look, behold, I have changed my opinion. I'm not a Shane Dawson stan account. I'm not. Go follow my Twitter account, please. I mean, the self-proclaimed empath said that he was going to remain friends with Jeffree Star, who was excited to see a competitor fail. In the context to this is Shane Dawson saying, yes, I'm going to remain friends with a man who has basically said that he is happy that a 21-year-old's life is going to be ruined. I'm also going to be friends with a guy who basically lied about being friends with Davi Vanity even after he made horrible tweets about Davi Vanity. Tweets which were true, but these were pretty brutal and pretty, you know, truthful tweets, which then Jeffree went back on to go tour with the guy. So I don't understand how Shane Dawson could remain friends with somebody like that if he was an empath. And that is why I think this whole empath thing is a complete and utter facade designed to manipulate us. I even have issues with the whole Eugene Cooney video, where in my opinion Shane basically pretended to care for her just to get some cheap and other views, and you know, the facade has gradually declined and it has led to a Shane Dawson video twice in a week. Some people may say, well, the clips you showed earlier were from 2014, that isn't any proof that he's not an empath. And okay, maybe you can go with that, but at the same time, those clips are really funny. But also, there's the stuff from this year and last year. I don't think anyone can look past that. If you genuinely believe that this guy is an empath and not somebody that is a millionaire who's just lied and manipulated his audience, well, I've got news for you, buddy. In conclusion, I feel like a lot of us have been manipulated by Shane Dawson, and that is the ending of the video. This quite long video. Thank you so much for coming along. These clips, overall, are pretty funny. No, they're not going to ruin his career, but at the end of the day, I think it shows that even a 26-year-old millionaire Shane Dawson, who probably had a little less money back then than he does now, was still a complete bell end. But that is the ending of the video. Please drop a like on this video, because Shane Dawson fans, they're pretty rife, you know. They will dislike this video, so get this video to 50,000 dislikes and I will continue to cover these topics. And please subscribe, and please follow my social medias at inabber69 on Twitter and inabber on Instagram. That is the ending of this video. Thank you so much for coming along, and I will see you either on Sunday or Monday. Have a great weekend, people. Peace out and take it easy.
It's like mayo juice.
Yeah, this is better.
Go on. You can do it. You can do it.
It's gonna miss. Like,
you can do it. You can do it.
I'm scared it's gonna miss.
He's watching. He's proper interested. Oh! Oh! That's